What if everything you thought you knew about this so-called royal fairy tale was never real to begin with? What if it was all just glitter, lighting, and angles? Nothing but a carefully staged illusion designed to dazzle, distract, and deceive. Because when you strip away the polish and look closer, the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry story doesn't feel romantic anymore. It feels messy, contradictory, manufactured, like a glossy Netflix drama that kept going long after the audience stopped caring. And now Tom Bower isn't whispering anymore. He's tearing the curtain down with both hands. He's exposing the obsession with Princess Diana that wasn't admiration at all, but calculation. The luxury lifestyle Meghan wanted everyone to forget. The power imbalance that slowly transformed a once respected soldier into someone barely recognizable. This stopped being a love story a long time ago. It became a spectacle, a performance. And the worst part? The performers didn't notice when the crowd walked out.
But ever since Meghan left Britain and then did the Oprah Winfrey interview, it's been really poisonous. William didn't know that Harry and Meghan had already recorded their poison. Meghan is a consummate survival actress. You raise this extraordinary beginning of the year.
Here's where it all starts to feel unsettling. Meghan didn't just admire Princess Diana, she studied her, like homework, like a role she was rehearsing for. Every head tilt, every shy smile, every carefully timed moment of vulnerability. Tom Bower lays it out clearly. This wasn't tribute, this was strategy. In Meghan's mind, Diana Spencer became Meghan Spencer, a role she believed she could step into, copy line by line, gesture by gesture, and inherit the same love without earning it. She thought if she wore similar outfits, mirrored the same body language, recreated those tender camera moments, the public would transfer their affection automatically. But people aren't stupid. You can't fake sincerity. You can't manufacture genuine compassion. Diana didn't perform kindness. She lived it. When she held someone's hand in a hospital room, it was real. When she spoke about causes, the emotion wasn't rehearsed. Cameras didn't create her warmth. They captured it. With Meghan, the cracks showed fast. The smiles felt forced. The head tilts looked practiced. The watery eyes felt timed. It didn't move people, it irritated them. Instead of empathy, it triggered eye rolls. It felt like bad theater where the actress is trying too hard and the audience can feel it. She wanted Diana's glow, but what she got was a spotlight exposing every flaw in the performance. And Harry? Instead of protecting his mother's legacy, he handed it over, allowed it to be used like a prop. Diana wasn't honored, she was repackaged, turned into branding, something sacred reduced to a marketing tool. And she wanted wealth, and she wanted fame, and there's no doubt she targeted Harry. That wasn't tribute, that was exploitation. And before the palace, before the fairy tale, let's talk about where Meghan actually was. This wasn't an A-list star sweeping into royalty. This was someone grinding, networking, studying power. She worked golf tournaments. She watched how influential people moved, spoke, posed. She wasn't waiting for fate. She was mapping outcomes. And she wanted the cover and control of the content. And they had a huge argument. And that meant that he was really finished with her. She didn't see Diana as a tragic figure. She saw a blueprint, a formula, something to replicate. But copying gestures doesn't give you a soul. And people felt that disconnect immediately. Harry watched it happen, watched his mother's memory get worn like a costume. And he said nothing. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And there's no doubt she targeted Harry. Once that line was crossed, there was no undoing it. Then comes the past Meghan hoped would stay buried. Tom Bower doesn't sugarcoat this. Luxury parties, billionaires, Hollywood power players, not auditions, not craft, connections. She wasn't building an acting career, she was building access. Hollywood is full of talent that never makes it. Meghan chose a different route. Who you know, who you're seen with. And Bower makes it clear. By 2013, she was already looking toward England. This wasn't coincidence, it was intention. She wanted wealth, fame, status, a platform. Harry wasn't a surprise, he was the ultimate prize. They did name Jason Kalf the man who in the end exposed Meghan's lies. And of course, they're furious with him, so networking isn't a crime. But this wasn't casual. This was deliberate, strategic, ruthless. Harry knew the rumors, the photos, the whispers. And still, they sold the world a fairy tale about destiny and chance. But the audience saw calculation. Then the contradictions started piling up. Meghan claimed she barely knew who Harry was, then later said she studied him. Which is it? Well, I think it's very toxic. I think they do their best, the wins as Prince Charles the Queen to keep it cool, but it's just Tom Bower Bauer calls it the contradiction game. Every interview brings a new version. Harry nods along, repeating lines like a puppet. The Oprah interview was supposed to clear things up. Instead, it raised more questions. Emotional beats felt rehearsed. Claims didn't align. People compared notes. The Lilibet photos said everything. Baby half hidden. Meghan perfectly styled, front and center. Even motherhood became branding. Was very early on in their relationship when Harry is bowled over by Meghan is desperately in love. Harry, the once genuine, open prince, disappeared, replaced by a PR echo. Netflix didn't fail them. Spotify didn't fail them. They failed themselves. They turned once-in-a-lifetime deals into public therapy sessions nobody wanted. Hollywood noticed, and Hollywood moved on. The wedding guest list exposed everything. Celebrities on Meghan's side, Harry's real friends excluded. Harry is completely governed by Meghan, and Meghan only thinks about Meghan. And that wedding wasn't the start of a royal life, it was the start of an exit plan. California was always the goal. Harry gave up his family, his duty, his dignity. He became an accessory, a prop, a mouthpiece. No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, and whose lives are shrouded in mystery. Then came the most disturbing part, using their daughter as PR armor. Timed announcements, strategic photos, sympathy shields, make their fortune by deriding everything she does. I mean, columns of the Times, the Mail, everything. Every time public opinion turned, motherhood appeared, then vanished again. The Lilibet name drama kept them relevant. The photos were clinical, staged, calculated. The hypocrisy was impossible to ignore. Privacy, but constant exposure. Protection, but exploitation. Passing comment, which Harry probably told Meghan much later. But Meghan gets her story wrong deliberately. The Oprah interview became the turning point. Fact-checking followed. The spell broke. Now, no deals, no momentum. American Riviera orchard struggling. No funding, no execution. Well, if I was Meghan, I'd be undoubtedly very worried tonight. What the judge decided was that Samantha Markle's action for Lee Hollywood sees them as toxic. Not emotionally, financially, and that's the end. Meghan believed she could outspin everyone, but Tom Bauer makes it clear. She's exposed. Credibility gone. Influence reduced to tabloid noise. The fall from Duchess to desperate was faster than anyone imagined. What's left isn't rebels or humanitarians. Just two fading figures clinging to relevance while the illusion collapses in real time. And she tried to interfere with the online content. Denise say, well, you can't control it. And that was her point. You can't fake authenticity forever. Eventually the mask slips. And when it does, there's no fixing it. So now the question isn't whether the fairy tale failed. It's whether there's anything left to save. And here's the part nobody in their camp wants to talk about out loud because it's uncomfortable and it hits too close to the truth. Once the sympathy dried up, once the headlines stopped feeling flattering and started feeling repetitive, there was nothing left underneath. No solid work to point to, no undeniable talent forcing people to pay attention. Just noise. Complaints. Recycled grievances dressed up as bravery. That's when people really started switching off. You could feel it happening in real time. The interviews started getting fewer views. The reactions weren't emotional anymore. They were bored. That's the kiss of death in entertainment. Anger still gets clicks. Outrage still gets shares. But boredom? That's when the audience is done. And Meghan didn't seem to notice the shift at all. She kept playing the same notes, repeating the same phrases, telling the same story with slightly different wording, as if sheer repetition would eventually make people believe it. Harry, meanwhile, looked more and more hollow every time he spoke. Gone was the man who used to joke with reporters, who felt relaxed in his own skin. Now every appearance feels stiff, rehearsed, uncomfortable, like someone who's been told exactly what to say and is terrified of getting it wrong. He doesn't sound convinced anymore. He sounds trapped. And that's why the public reaction changed from admiration to pity. Not sympathy, pity. What makes it worse is that this was all avoidable. If they had stopped after leaving royal life, if they had quietly built something meaningful, focused on actual work instead of constant explanation, the story could have ended very differently. People were ready to root for them once. That window was open. But instead of walking through it, they slammed it shut themselves with interview after interview, complaint after complaint, contradiction after contradiction. And Meghan? She still seems convinced that one more reinvention will fix everything. One more brand, one more reintroduction, one more carefully staged photo. But that trick only works when the audience trusts you. Once that trust is gone, reinvention looks desperate, not exciting. It looks like someone running from their own reputation. Hollywood isn't cruel about this, it's practical. If your name creates problems, people step back. Not dramatically, quietly, Calls stop coming, invitations disappear, meetings get postponed and never rescheduled, and suddenly you're left wondering how it all slipped away so fast. Meghan thought the royal connection would protect her forever. But in Hollywood, association cuts both ways. When the shine fades, the fall is brutal. And Harry, he's learning too late that you can't torch every bridge and expect to rebuild later. Family relationships don't reset. Words don't disappear just because you regret them. He told his story. He chose his side publicly. And now he's living with the consequences in silence, standing beside someone whose ambitions consumed everything around her, including him. People close to the situation have said it for years. This doesn't feel like a partnership. It feels like management. Meghan speaks, Harry supports. Meghan decides, Harry follows. Meghan pivots, Harry adjusts. And the saddest part is that he once had a strong enough identity to resist that. But somewhere along the way, he gave it up piece by piece, convinced it was love, convinced it was loyalty, convinced it was worth it. Now they're boxed in by their own narrative. They can't pivot without admitting exaggeration. They can't retreat without looking dishonest. They can't move forward without reminding everyone of what already failed. Every option leads back to the same problem: credibility. And once credibility is gone, no amount of PR, no emotional speech, no glossy photo can bring it back. That's why Tom Bower's work hits so hard. Not because it's shocking, but because it connects dots people were already starting to see. It explains why things feel off, why the story never quite lines up, why the performances feel strained. It puts structure to the unease the public has felt for a long time. What we're watching now isn't a comeback being sabotaged by bad luck or unfair press. It's the slow collapse of a narrative that was never strong enough to hold its own weight. An empire built on image, not substance. On strategy, not sincerity. On control, not connection. And the cruel irony, in trying so hard to control how they were seen, they ended up revealing exactly who they are. Every defensive interview, every carefully timed release, every attempt to redirect sympathy only made the pattern clearer. You can't cry wolf forever. Eventually, people stop listening altogether. So now they exist in this strange limbo, not powerful enough to dominate headlines, not humble enough to rebuild quietly. Too controversial to trust, too repetitive to excite. And the world has moved on to the next story, the next scandal, the next fascination, while Meghan and Harry keep retelling the same one, hoping this time it lands differently. It won't, because the illusion is gone, the spell is broken, and once people see the strings, they can't unsee them.